Hello guys, in this video we are going to discuss the solution of the problem find all triplets with zero sum. So let us look at the problem statement. Problem statement says given an array ARR, find all possible indices I, j and k of triplet ARR I, ARR j and ARR k in the array whose sum is equal to 0. Return indices of triplets in any order and all the returned triplets indices should also be internally sorted. That is, for any triplet indices I, j and k, the condition I is less than j is less than k should hold. So for instance, if this is the array which is given to us, there exist two triplet whose sum is equals to 0. Those two triplets are these two, and the indices of those two triplets are what we are returning over here. So that's about the problem statement, folks. Now let us discuss the solution of this problem. So the general idea behind solving this problem is to store the sum of pairs in a dictionary or a map. And then what we are going to do is we are going to iterate on the elements of the array. And for each element, what we are going to check is whether there exists a pair such that the sum of the element of the array and the pair equals 0 or not. And if there exists such a pair, we are going to put that triplet in our answer array. And then towards the end, we are going to return that answer array. So that's the general idea behind solving this problem, folks. Now let us look through an example in order to understand this concept. So let us say this is the array which is given to us. For this array, what we are going to do is we are going to create a dictionary or a map which contains the sum of pairs for all the pairs which this array has. So for instance, the first pair which we have is 0 minus 1. The sum is minus 1. So minus 1 is what we are going to store over here, and corresponding to this minus 1, indices which results into minus 1. So the indices which result into minus 1 is 0th index and first index. Similarly, now let us look at the second pair. So the second pair is 0, 2. So the sum is 2 and the indices which results into this sum. So 0, 2. 0th index and second index. Folks, please note, over here we are storing indexes rather than the elements of the array. And in this way, we will be able to list down all the pairs. So let us list down all the pairs. And folks, in this way, we have populated this entire dictionary in order to contain all the pairs and their sum. So for instance, if you look at this value, which is minus 1, then there exist two pairs 0, 1 and 2, 1 whose sum results into minus 1. So let us look at the elements of this pair. So 0th index and first index. So the sum is 0 plus minus 1 equals to minus 1. Similarly, second and third indexes. So this is my second index and this is my third index. The sum of those two elements is minus 1, because of which minus 1. And similarly, in this way, all these pairs have been updated. Now, once we have this value populated, what we are going to do is we are going to iterate on the elements of the array. So let us iterate on the elements of the array. So let us take the first element. So the first element is 0. Now with this 0, we are looking for some other pair, let's say P1 and P2, such that the sum of these elements is equals to 0. So essentially what we are looking for is 0 plus P1 plus P2 equals to 0, which simply means we are looking for a pair whose sum is 0. So P1 plus P2 is equals to 0. Now what we are going to do is we are going to look into our dictionary in order to see whether there exists a pair whose sum is 0. Now, since we have a pair whose sum is equals to 0, so what we are going to do is we are going to use this pair. So let us use this pair. So now the pair becomes equals to 0, 1, 4. And this pair is something which we are going to insert in our answer list. So we have found our first pair. Now let us iterate through all the elements of the array. So the next element which we have is minus 1. Again, we are looking for P1 and P2 such that the sum is equals to 0. So essentially, we are looking for P1 plus P2 whose sum is equals to 1. Is there exist a pair whose sum is equals to 1? Well, there exist these two pairs whose sum is equals to 1. So let us look at these pairs. So now the triplets using these two pairs will be minus 1, 1. So minus 1 is at the index 1th. That is why I am using 1 over here. And then the 0th index and 4th index. And the second pair which we have is 1, 1, 2. Now if we look at this pair, 1, 0 and 4 is something which we have already used over here. That is why we are going to ignore this pair. And if you look at this pair 1, 1 and 2, so this is not a triplet, isn't it? We are using the same element twice, because of which we are going to ignore this as well. So far we have just found one pair, which is this pair, and this pair is in our answer list. Now let us move to the next element. So the next element is 2. So we are looking for a pair whose sum is equals to 0. So essentially we are looking for a pair whose sum is equals to -2. Now let us look at our dictionary in order to see whether there exists a pair whose sum is equals to -2. So there exists one pair whose sum is equals to -2. So now the triplet which will be formed is the index of this element, and the index of this element is 2. So this is my first, and then 3 and 4. Now since this is a triplet which we have not inserted in our answer list, so what we are going to do is we are going to have this triplet also in our answer list. So far our answer list contains 2 triplets. One triplet is 0, 1 and 4, and the other triplet is 2, 3 and 4. Now let us proceed forward. So the next element which we are looking for is -3. So again -3, P1 and P2 should be equals to 0. So this simply means we are looking for a pair whose sum is equals to 3. Now let us look at our dictionary in order to see whether there exists such a pair. Well, there exists one such pair, which is 2 and 4. So because of this, the triplet which we'll get is 2, 4, and what is the index of this element? Well, the index of this element is 3. So essentially the triplet which we have obtained is 2, 3 and 4, and since this triplet already exists over here, because of which we are going to ignore this as well. And similarly we are going to iterate on rest of the element and repeat the same process in order to obtain all the triplets, and if we obtain a new triplet we are going to insert it in our answer. For this array there exist only these 2 triplets, because of which towards the end we are going to return answer. So that's the discussion of solution, folks. Now let us discuss the pseudocode of this problem. So let us say we want to find out a triplet whose sum is equals to 0. So for this let us have a dictionary or a map, and the first thing which we are going to do is we are going to compute the sum of all the pairs and we are going to store it into the dictionary. So let us do that. So for that let's have n which is equals to length of array, and then let us iterate on all the pairs. So for I in range of, and for j in range of n, and then let's have s equals to arri plus arrj, and then let's check whether this s does not exist in map. If it does not exist in map, then let's have mp of s equals to a list, and then mp of s dot append the pair. So let us append the pair. So the pair will be given by I comma j, and using these 2 loops we were able to add all the pairs in our dictionary. Now once we have added all the pairs in our dictionary, let us iterate on all the elements of the array. So for I in range n, and then let us compute diff. So diff is equals to 0 minus arr of I, and this diff is essentially we are looking for a pair whose sum is equals to diff. Now let us look into our dictionary in order to find such a pair. So if diff in dictionary, if such a pair exists in dictionary, then let us iterate on all such pairs. So let's have pairs equals to mp of diff, and let's iterate on all such pairs. So for p in pairs, and the first thing which we are going to do is first we are going to ensure that the triplet is a valid triplet. So what do I mean by this is, if we look into this example, in this example this is not a valid pair because we are using duplicate the same element twice. So this is the first check which we are going to do. So we are going to check if I is not equals to p of 0 and I is not equals to p of 1. So there isn't any duplicate. If there isn't any duplicate, then we are going to insert this into an temporary answer set. And the reason why we are going to use a set over here is, so let's say we have a set over here. I'm just going to call it as 8.1, and let's say we have a temporary set over here. And the reason why we are going to use a set is essentially we don't want duplicates to be pushed into. Since we know set has the property that it will not contain duplicate element, because of which we can safely say tmp of s dot add triplet, and before to that let us have the triplet with us. So triplet equals to I comma p0 and p1. So this forms our triplet, and since this triplet has to be sorted, so what we are going to do is we are just going to say triplet dot sort, and towards the end we are just going to append that triplet into our set, and towards the end all we have to do is we have to convert this set into a list and return our answer. So for that, list of triplet for triplet in temporary set. So that's the pseudocode, folks. Now let us see how we have implemented this in Python and C++. So first let us look at our Python implementation. We have a map and then n is equals to length of array, and then using this to loop we are inserting all the pairs sum into our dictionary, and then we are iterating on the elements of the array. We are computing a diff which is equals to 0 minus array of I, and then we are checking whether this diff exists in map or not. If it exists in map, then we are iterating on all such pairs, and then for each pair we are ensuring that it is a valid pair, that is, it should not contain any duplicate element. And towards the end, if this is a valid pair, we are inserting in our set, and towards the end we are converting that set into a list and we are returning our answer. So that's the Python implementation, folks. Now let us submit our solution. So our Python solution got accepted. Now let us look at the C++ implementation. So the C++ implementation is also the same, folks. Over here we have a temporary answer which is a set, and then we are having a map, and then n is equals to array of size of the array, and then using this to loop we are inserting all the pairs in our dictionary, and then we are iterating on the elements of the array, and then we are checking that there exists a pair such that then we are computing diff, and then we are checking whether this diff exists in the dictionary or not. If diff exists in dictionary, then we are iterating on all such pairs and we are ensuring that it is a valid triplet. If it is a valid triplet, we are inserting that valid triplet into our answer, and towards the end we are converting set into a vector and returning answer. So that's the C++ implementation, folks. Now let us submit our solution. So our C++ solution also got accepted. That is all from this video, folks. In case if you have any question or comment regarding this video, please feel free to use the comment section and I'll try to address them. Thank you.